Native Civil Court. Convicted cases of state criminals. The Civil Court of the Native Peoples of Europe is comparable to the one of Ken Annett from Canada with the ITCCS Court, which can be translated into German with International Court for State and Church Crime. In Canada, similar criminal state and church crimes prevail, together with systematically organized arbitrary crimes of the Queen of England. The Queen is the official head of Canada. The Native Citizens Court of the Native Peoples of Europe deals with all cases that violate the integrity of man. The foundations of the court are natural law, spiritual foundations, and universal basic order. The civil law and civil court is based on the Hirarchielose coexistence of all beings and the natural universal order. It is known to some people for centuries that governments have always been involved in organized crime. And what laws and improvements have been introduced to reduce and prevent state criminality? It has never worked. Government in any form, whether it is communist, fascist, capitalist, dictatorial, democratic, republican, monarchy or church state. One thing is 100% certain, and that is organized government crime. This is an old disease of any form of government. The most nefarious, weakest, most criminal personalities prevail most in any form of government. The police can be cited as an example. An accumulation of psychopathically violent criminals who want to live out their insane conditions under the protection of the state mafia syndicate. In politics it is not much different. There they are more phlegmatic and more focused on financial and manipulative crime. In principle, nothing has changed over the millennia of governments. In many governments there are even highly criminal laws which protect organized crime from police, judges, and politicians. For example, qualitative immunity, or immunity for politicians and others. Tax exemption and early retirement, special bonuses, and many other unjustified privileges. There are even provisions in the Civil Code that clearly immunicate criminality of state employees. That such procedures correspond to systematic gang crime is clear. Criminals from politics, courts, public prosecutors, police and civil servants do not see that this cannot go on forever and ever. Also, the Church has problems with giving up its unjustified privileges. In the past 30 years, state criminality has reached new heights. Some of them are criminals' international treaties with EU, Vatican, USA, UN, NGO organizations, foreign military like NATO, foreign terrorist organizations like Gladio, P2, P26, P27 and others, treasonous practices like new Swiss passport with enemy states like USA, genocide agendas with UN like vaccination agenda, Agenda 2010, Agenda 2030, etc. 5G with the sterilization vibration 2.4 GHz. The International Pedophile Network was also introduced in Switzerland as KESB. This organization is an English Zionist human trafficking organization with which various goals are to be achieved. For the first, pedophile child sex for politicians, clergy, business people. Adrenochrome recovery. Produces intoxication and rejuvenation of the body for the consumer. Satanic sacrificial ceremonies. Cannibalistic meals. On the other hand, profiteering and money laundering with concerned orphanages. These orphanage concentration camps are partly secret. This is specifically criminal. This is also done with disabled, adults and pensioners. In addition, adults are systematically receiving stolen goods. Home property, business property, valuables, and finances are confiscated as in a communist dictatorship and made to disappear through various channels. In addition, KESB does not provide any data information, thus clearly proving that it commits systematic crime. The social problem today is that the government and its employees think they have all the power to do whatever they want. For example, the so-called KESB legislation can be considered. It completely contradicts the Constitution, civil and criminal law. What the KESB employees then do arbitrarily has to be called absolutely highly criminal, wanton, serious crime. It is well known that in Western European countries a mafia syndicate cartel has emerged from politics, judges, public prosecutors, police, and officials, which exploits the population with organized gang crime. And as we know from history, Neither democracy, courts, nor voting has ever changed anything in this highly criminal situation. The government and its parasites have always been the cancer of society. This has to do with their character, intelligence, and personality. In many countries, like England, Belgium, Holland, Norway, etc., these are highly criminal exploiting families who never will let go of it voluntarily. For this reason, movements and courts such as the ITCCS and the Citizens' Court of the Native Peoples of Europe have developed again and again. The following state employees have been sentenced to death: Ignacio Casas, Karin Keller-Sutter, André Simonazzi, Elaine Brissett, Anne-Marie Murr, Stephanie Seelig, Cornelia Dupont, Stefan Armenti, Rico Peter, Daniel Bugert, Samuel Ris, Franz Urs Muller, Ulrich Meyer, Christian Hermann, Martha Nicola, Roland Furst. All these criminals are massively involved in child trafficking, human trafficking, national and international organized crime. The reasons are first of all the serious criminal offenses of organized genocide. This is justified in the corresponding UNO agenda, which the Swiss government has adopted. On the other hand, Switzerland traffics in human beings and children. It derives unjustified and systematic criminal profit from this trafficking in human beings. For example, pedophile prostitution, receiving stolen goods by confiscating the valuables of abducted persons. Destruction of livelihoods, destruction of the family unit. Unlawful interference in personality, family, and life. The condemned have made themselves guilty of all these criminal offenses systematically and chronically repeated deliberately. Politicians and judges must be specifically and comprehensively aware of their responsibility towards the population. They have systematically and consciously ignored this. This is far worse and more criminal than if someone neglects his responsibility in lower positions. Moreover, these judges and politicians have pushed their deliberately criminal agenda with all criminal violence further down into the population, and thereby caused and consciously accepted many suicides and other deaths. Furthermore, especially the judges have abused their task and position in a very serious way by working together with politicians and police in gang collaboration, with complete evasion and ignoring of the Constitution, civil and criminal law. They have made this child trafficking and human trafficking possible only in a real and lasting way on this scale. It was not possible to find out what financial magnitude has caused you to commit these serious crimes against the people and the population. The death penalty is more than justified for this purpose and in principle not sufficient. In principle the death penalty is neither foreseen nor allowed in anarchic coexistence. But because of the systematic oppression of mankind by government criminals for centuries, it is now used for this extraordinary and permanent state of emergency. The Civil Court of the Native Peoples of Europe, of Bern, sentenced on 6/6/2020 the mentioned guilty persons, concerning the mentioned crimes to death. Citizens are entitled to execute convicted criminals if found. According to